All right, what's up? We're back with part 2. This is Frank Castle, your Sorcerer Supreme. This is the I Am We Are Fearless podcast. We're here with Nicholas Zervos, Fearless Family artist, designer, all-around great, awesome dude. Probably shaman in training. Definitely become his own shaman. Check out IamWeAreFearLess.com for all the different artists, styles, and designs. And then you could also see Nick's stuff there. And where else can anyone find you? Just if you have any...
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. I'm all yours.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. So we've been... this is part 2 of the conversation that was happening earlier. Crazy ranting about reptilians and all different kind of things. But Nick and I were just talking off air for a minute about how it kind of coincides what I was ranting about then with what was happening to him today. So, is there anything you'd like to share with us, Nick?
Yeah, well, okay. I mentioned earlier about how my buddy and I we go in, sometimes like once a week or a couple times a month, and we just come here. We get the house all set up, incense and sage it, and
so you have a whole ritual that you do before you even do this.
Yes, yeah, and I won't smoke. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you: is there a reason for that ritual?
Yeah, I just like to clear the space, or just I don't know if it's like my Dumbo's feather, but I find if he just comes over, if I had been out eating meat or something during the week, or if I hadn't showered yet in the day and we go in there and smoke, it has like a filthy feel to it, or it's not as bright, or I don't know exactly how to explain it. It's always better for me if I don't eat very much meat. It's very rare that I eat meat, but sometimes I just have to have a burger, and so I'll eat a burger and then I won't smoke for a couple of days just because I don't like to bring that energy in with me. So he'll come over, and if I've eaten meat or drank a couple beers or something, I don't smoke, right? So today he came over, we went out and had some lunch. I had a burger and a beer. So we came back to the house, and then I was like, I'm not going in today. So he just went in by himself. So I got incense going. I got the what is it? Is it the Ayahuasca soundtrack that you sent me?
Yes.
That music is amazing. So I put that on, and it was that Om Namah Shivaya song.
Okay. And
it's odd because every time we smoke, whatever song is playing, we go to this certain spot. A different song is playing, we go to this other certain spot, and it's always the same place that we go to. And the way we're doing it right now, we're going in, not smoking, laying back and just closing our eyes and going away. We're staying, maybe in between worlds, so I can see and record what everything looks like, so I can draw it or paint it later. Okay? But today, Johnny, he's like, all right, I'm just going to take a little one since you're not coming. And so he takes a little tiny hit. And after he does, I hadn't saged yet, so I grabbed my Santa Paulo, and I turned around. He's gone. He was in the living room, just standing against the wall with this big smile on his face. And I came through the living room doing the Santa Paulo. And it does. You've done it. You did it when I was there. It doesn't make a lot of smoke. So it just looks like I'm holding this little stick. And after he came down, he asked me, he's like, dude, what were you doing? You were walking through the living room and you were slicing through this black, dark cloud. And that made me, when you started talking about, the darkness and this dark cloud that these energies fill your house with when they come in. There's people who were here yesterday. Ever since they left, it's felt heavy in my house. And you told me yesterday, you should sage the house. You should sage the house. And I didn't. I couldn't. I just went to sleep, and then Beyond the Veil was on. So, but then today, when I did that, Johnny was like, dude, it was so strange. You walked through, and you were cutting through some black cloud in the living room. And then I just walked past him and kept saging. I went into my kitchen, And he said that by the time I got to the kitchen, it looked like I was 50 miles away, and I was like this little tiny thing, and like these pixels were coming off of my back. Like I had these big pixel wings on me. It was very strange.
That's intense.
Yeah, it was an interesting, and he was last week when he had come over. We smoked together, and what we do is we smoke in my office area, and then we walk through the house. And my house right now is it's nice, but when we smoke, it is the most beautiful place I've ever seen on this planet. It's amazing. I got this big, giant, old, ornate mirror that stands in the like the little breakfast nook in the kitchen, and then these two windows with these blue curtains on it. And that like area looks. There's something special about that mirror. I don't know what it is, but after we smoke, it's like got these ornate spiral columns on the side of it. It's really amazing. So what we do is we start in my room, we walk through the house and go out through the garage, and the trees and the green and the plant life outside. It's completely alien, and it's really hard to capture that with drawing. But this last time that we did do that, it was starting to get dark, and we went outside, and I looked to the left, and there was this glowing orb in the sky, and it wasn't a plane because I'm not high enough to where I can't, like, I know a car is a car, and but this light was just like over my house to the left, and it like got really bright and then just winked right out. And I didn't know that Johnny at the same time was going through this thing where he said everything got real bright, and then his whole world went dark. He couldn't see anything. He said he was just in darkness, and he felt all alone, and he was scared. And that lasted a couple minutes, but then it went away. But that was that. And then another thing that you were talking about the tone that you do when you hit with your little bowl, the singing bowl. Dude, one time you and I were having a conversation, and I was walking around outside of my gym, and we were just shooting the shit, and I found this glass crystal vase, just like this tall glass, perfectly cylindrical thing, and that's what I use to do my extractions. And this afternoon, I was washing it, and I noticed that when you tap on it with your finger, it makes this crystal bell sound. And I hit it 3 times, and the cats bugged out. They had all perked up. The big fat one came running into the kitchen, and it was like the most pretty sound. So I walked throughout the house, and I was doing that sound. And it's been a while since we had this conversation, 15 minutes now, so I forgot the rest. But
well, the sound, excuse me, the sound actually clears out the space, raises the vibration, raises you and everything around into another density, into a higher realm where the things that would be dark, they just can't reside. And from there, you can do the work on your home. From there is the place where you work on your on the darkness that is in your home. We've had numerous amount of guests for ayahuasca experiences, and one of the reasons why we're slowing our roll with this, and we're going to have new definitions, like people can't stay here anymore and stuff like that. They leave this residue behind. And while they're sleeping and working it out, and then they're just embedding it over and over, and it takes me weeks to clean the energy out. Right? So if somebody's sleeping on my couch while they're working out their worst ayahuasca experience, fears, this and that, so they could become a light being, and they're laying on my pillow, or a pillow I designate for them, and they're soaking that into the couch, it's difficult to clear that out. You try to sage your couch and make that work. Right. I do things sometimes, and there's beings will walk in the room, and they'll go, you think some sage and a crystal is going to work against me? And I go, yeah, I kind of see how that wouldn't work against you at all. Right? And then you reach a whole nother level. So imagine the things that are splashed all over the place. It's not just reptilians, and it's not just, bulbous-headed ETs with almond-shaped eyes. It's everything. right? The dark, the demons, the demiurge, the AI, the mimics, the non-playable character NPCs, the holodeck, the spirits, the mimicked spirits, the angels, the darkness, the light. It's, you know, and everything in between is all happening at once, right here in the now.
Let me ask you a question. Tonight, when Johnny was here, after he came down, he was telling me, he was like, dude, I was in the living room, and I kept reaching and opening these doors. Like, there's so many doors in your living room. I just kept opening all these doors. I'm like, dude, did you close them? You know?
Yeah.
Does that have an effect?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Because you could play around and access something, and then invite it in accidentally, and it's in. I did this, and during my first few episodes, I talked about this being befriended me, and it was a humanoid with a tarantula head. Its head was a tarantula with a humanoid face, but it was furry. It was very scary looking, but it was chill. I didn't get any bad vibes off it or whatever, and I had a conversation one night with Chris Gio, and I was explaining to him, every time I do anything, this fucking thing's here, right? But it's like, he's cool. He helps me with stuff. He kind of directs me. He hasn't directed me in a wrong way yet. Like, you know, I've been discerning with that kind of. And then something happened, and as I'm talking to Chris, it leaned over. It just came out of it was out of nowhere. I'm not on anything, and he leans in, and he goes, "Yo, shut up! I can't hear what he's saying." And I said, "Are you talking to me? Like, you're wow?" And he goes, "I just told you to shut up." And I said, "Oh, that's it for you, right?" And Chris is like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "Hold on a second." And all I did was say, "Yo, I'm sorry." And he was like, "Yo, you're gonna be sorry." And I already had my light sword in its face, and I gutted it straight down through its midsection, and it turned into black goo and just dispersed. Like, rah, boosh, gone. And Chris was like, "What was that?" And I go, "This thing was trying to listen to you answer me. And it told me to shut up." And it goes, "Is this the thing you've been hanging out with?" I go, "Yeah, it just fucking like walked up and did all this stupid shit." He goes, "Yeah, anything that looks like that probably isn't going to be your fucking friend, dude." He goes, "Just you telling me was making me nervous." And I'm like, "Yeah, but he doesn't do anything wrong." So you discern it, and you're like, "Well, whatever." But he's like, "How good is your discernment? That level you were completely blocked and couldn't see that coming." And I'm like, "Well, I'm just interested in the being that's here." Like, there's stages of that. You know, like, oh, it's cool. It's not attacking me. It's, oh, it helped me make ayahuasca. Oh, it helped me do this. Oh, it helped me clear the room. Oh, okay. How do you know what it's really doing? Right? Your unawareness doesn't matter.
Yeah, glamoring you.
Yeah. Even at my ayahuasca-ness, they're still glamoring me and doing stuff. It's just that now it's years later and I'm still working. I haven't stopped. Good old heist click, hard work. Putting in hard work. Why? Because I put in hard work. Because I can. That's what I do. It doesn't mean I'm there all the time doing it. It just means I'm working all the time. Right? Big difference. People are like, "Oh, this kid's on ayahuasca all the time." I go, "No, I'm not."
So you
I don't smoke
you set
DMT
up and
all
you
the time.
sage? Well, when you do DMT, when you do smoke, do you set up and you do the sage and
I
you
have
do
a
all the
ritual
setup
as well,
before?
yeah.
You do? Okay.
I have a new one for people. I should just take my personal ritual and make everyone do it, because when people come here, they don't have a ritual. They're just like, yeah, whatever. So I want to contract people when they come here to clear their own energy. Right? Like when you come in, meditate. I'll teach you how to meditate. I say exactly what must be done. You agree to it. And it's always like, put my best intentions forward so I have the greatest experience and I could go forth in the love and the light and meet the creator. I am the creator. I am source. I am all that stuff. But then it's like, yo, that's cool. But you're also 50% of everything else. And you can't be leaving that here. And they're like, what? So you have to tell them, look, man, you're going to learn how to transmute while you're here. You're going to be taking your demon with you. You're not leaving it in my house. So I had problems with that, where the black mist that you talk about, my wall turned black. It was like we were having lunch. Paula was cooking something. And this girl I was working with was having issues. So she was calling me and screaming into the phone like a child. And then I'm going, I can't help this girl. I hang up on her, and I see her in my living room screaming. So I'm like, ugh. And the wall behind me, the bathroom wall, turned black, like where you put your head on the couch, right? The whole thing turned black. It was moving like it was an ocean. And then the minute I went, hey, 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 and I said, whatever happens next, I told this to the girl, and I just hung up with her on the phone. She's in my living room. And it was her spirit self was there. She must have been projecting because of her anger and her fear. And this thing was there with her. And then I said, whatever happens next, just know that it's all love. We have love. I love you. Don't worry. And she was like, what's going to happen? And she got whacked. It looked like tentacles came out and just took her. She was gone. And I was standing there like, oh, no. And one of them got me by the throat and was winging me back and forth across the house. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? You can do that to me? Like, you can pick me up off the floor? I got shoved into the kitchen, and Paula's cooking. She's like, what's going on? And I can't talk. I'm going, ah, ah, ah. And she could see me getting jerked back and forth. Like, you know, like when a dog grabs like an arm on someone, it just starts shaking it back and forth.
Yeah.
That's what I was going through. And then she was like, yo. And then she runs up. I was on my knees trying to throw up in the kitchen into the bucket, into the pail. And she starts rubbing her hands over my back. And I throw up, then have to run into the bathroom. And then it's just a war. It's a war at that point for what's taking me or filling my space with this other stuff. Whatever this shit energy is, whatever this darkness is, whatever this black gooey shit is, it just jumped into my sphere and is now taking me over. Right? And I had to spend an hour purging this out. For 2 days, my eyes looked like they were popped out of my head. It looked like I was crying for a month. It looks like I fought like I got into a fist fight. And somebody beat me up. That my face was swollen and stuff. I had to put both palms over my eyes because this thing, when you're purging it out, this shit tries to come out of it tries to do the most damage. It wrecks you on the way in. It wrecks you on the way out. Right? It's like the bull in the china shop. So it's coming out of my eyes, bro.
The china shop.
Yeah. And it's pushing out and I was telling Paula, yo, my eyes are going to pop out of my fucking head. Like they're literally coming out of my sockets. So I just held them in and purged. But my other character, my higher self, it's like as my physical self and whatever spiritual energy I have around me is on the toilet throwing up. And then the higher guy's just standing there telling you what to do. Right? Not letting you up. Not letting you get hurt either. This thing tried to jerk my head into the wall. Oh, Paula will attest to this too. I've fainted during these moments and smacked my head on the toilet seat, knocked myself out. Right? And then she would grab me and fucking snap me back because I'm in the middle of throwing up. And a lot of times it's not throw up that comes out. It's like it's almost like bile. It's like a yellow substance, but it doesn't burn. That's why I say it's not bile. Like the bile burns, or it's black, or nothing comes up, and you're like hacking and hacking for your life, and then that air that you're hacking out somehow is like ejecting the energy. Now I've seen what this looks like when you're under. It looks like you're throwing up an evil rainbow. Right? Like darkness. Like if darkness had its rainbow. Like, hey, look at that. It's a perfectly black line in the sky blocking the sun. Oh, I love it. You're throwing that shit up. So it's like the energy was forced into you and you're forcing it out. My last guest, Susan Vaughn, was saying to me right before one of the shows, and then I think I got her on air saying it. She gave me a message, and it was through what she was saying. Like, yo, you could purge that without doing that, just through the air. You breathe like with the Wim Hof technique, 30 times up and in. Like that's my technique too. But you forget to use it because during your ritual, you sage, you do this and you do that. You set your intentions 2 hours ago, and then something new came up and you forgot to say it, and then you sit down to remember it and you forget the notepad that's over there. There's just too many things sometimes. You got to like take it down to base layer and just release anything that's not you. Then start. Like that's what I've noticed, because then afterwards I'll have to sage the whole place, and sage doesn't work on a lot of this stuff. You just
Right.
get
Yeah,
the
that's why
other
I
shit
got the
out.
3 different kinds of sage. I got the white sage and the Santo Palo, and then I got some frankincense. They said that's like 3
Yes.
levels. The white sage is the lowest, and then the Santo Palo is a stronger one. I love that smell now. Whenever I was at your house and you were doing it around me while I was under, a couple times it was like something about that smell was like making me fucking like, I don't want that smell.
That's what's in you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that because that's what used to happen. I used to hate sage. Every time anybody lit sage, I was out. I'll see you later.
Yeah, if it smells like ass to you, right, and then you get nauseous around it, it's like one of the most healthy things you could have around you, is this smoke, because it deodorizes and disinfects everything without ruining anything,
I love it.
without hurting your lungs.
I love it.
Right.
I absolutely love it.
Because it's an actual plant that it's that material when it burns is specifically here to disinfect the area. So like Earth has given us everything we need to combat this bullshit. And we're so busy making synthetic things. And meanwhile, we have it right here. Intention and some sage. A charged crystal and a circle mat that I could sit in. Right? You're ready to go.
Let me stop you about the circle for a second, because you've been telling me, you've told me several times, you put yourself in the circle and nothing can hurt you, right?
As long as you will that, yeah.
Now, what if I paint a circle around my desk chair where I sit every day?
You can imagine
draw
the circle.
And paint
Yeah, I know how you are. You'll design something to sit around. Do it.
You think that's okay?
Right,
I mean,
this is what I did.
Like,
I bought
my creativity or anything.
No.
Because sometimes, like, I want to do this and I want to go and draw, but
what do you think stops you from drawing, and then drawing the circle on the floor is what's stopping you from doing your creative shit? So you draw the circle, all of a sudden you step in the circle and want to create. See how it works?
That's even if it's a Dumbo's feather, that's fine with me. It'll get the job done.
I got a Mandela towel online. I wanted like a beach towel, though, not one of these thin, shitty ones, right? So it's an actual towel, and it's the perfect size to fit me, and if I had to grab Paula and pull her onto it, it's perfect size. I had it during the eclipse. It's awesome. I throw this thing on the floor the day before Squeak dies, right? And I told you I smoked DMT over his body, trying to heal him, and I started transforming into a giant lion.
Yep.
All right. This thing, I told you the thing attacked me. Like I felt it starting to push on the outer wall of my sphere of energy, and was trying to bring its hand in, and I was sitting in the circle, and as I was transforming, the cat that was we each have these beings in us. So the cat was looking at me, it's saying to me, "Yo, do not turn around, bro. Whatever you do, don't turn around." And I'm like, "Why?" It's trying to stab me in the back, right? But it can't get in because I'm sitting in the circle. But I could feel the pressure on my bubble. But the bubble was still 15 inches off my back. I could sit straight up, and I was completely protected. So they were like, "Don't turn around. It's going to frighten you." So I said, "I'm not fucking frightened anymore." And I turned and I looked, and I was fucking frightened to my core. This 11-foot looking, it looked like the thing from a Nightmare Before Christmas, the main character. It looked like an E.T. that looked like that, kind of. It didn't look like a claymation. It looked fucking real. And he was sticking his hand through my sphere, my aura, whatever. But it couldn't get through because I was sitting in the circle. So it was just, it couldn't do it. And I was laughing. I go, you can't do fucking nothing. Nothing. You're lucky. Because I was like, I have fake teeth. If I transform into a lion, my teeth better be fixed because I'm going to rip your fucking head off. And I was getting so... Dude, I was doing it for Squeak. I wasn't doing it for me. All right, check this out. You'll be fearless if it's not for you sometimes.
Always, yeah.
All right, so my cat's in the chair, in the circle, and I'm in the circle in the chair, on my knees in front of the cat with my body over him. That's when I told you my hands exploded like nukes. Like I felt the energy. I said, "Give me the fucking energy right now." And they were like, "Well, you are the energy. Just relax." And I'm like, "No, I'm going to take care of this right fucking now." And they're like, No. If you step out of the circle, that thing's going to kick the shit out of you. Like literally, you're not prepared for that. That's why you're sitting in the circle doing this. I said, I didn't even know he was there. I'm doing this for my fucking cat, yo. You told me I could heal anything in the world. Anything. I could heal myself. I could heal others. Why can't I heal my fucking cat? And they were like, the cat can't come with you. And I'm like, what do you mean? What the fuck does that mean? And they're like, your cat, the physical suit of the cat can't come where you're coming. I said, what does that mean? We're all going to die? And blah, blah, blah. Like I threw that baby fit. And they were like, no, look, he's already fucking here. And I'm like, oh. And they showed me I was trapped in the cube. And they were like, open the door, like the top of the cube to show me that I was being deceived inside this cube, inside like this box. And the box was to distract you. And it was the illusion. And it kept distracting me. And every time I turned to look at something, it was like 100 years later. And then I saw my cat there, and I went to my cat, and the cat winds up dying. And I'm like holding my cat, going, why is the cat got to die? And the box opens, and I looked in. It was me, looking my oversoul. Paula was there. You were there. Josh was there. The Fearless family was there, dude. And there was others that I didn't know yet, but I knew all of them. But I guess I didn't meet them yet. And they were like inches from me, and I'm like, what? And they closed the box, and I go, you fucking kidding me? I'm trapped in a box, and I saw Squeak. He was on the other side with them. He was this big fucking cat man. And I'm like, I love you, bro. I love you. I'm coming, bro. And then there was like a long hallway between me and my exit. And then I was like, where am I? Whose idea was this? I started hyperventilating, and I came out. I opened the door, like a door. And I was like, yo, don't come any further. You're about to walk out of here very soon. Like, you're going to literally just walk out of the box. And then he opened up the door more, and Squeak was just standing there. And he's like, look, he's with us now. But it's us. It's you. You're Squeak. Like, do you understand that? And I'm like, yeah, but he's himself. They're like, okay, you're a piece of Source, right? But you're still Source? And I'm like, well, yeah. And he's like, okay, that's what you did for Squeak. You took a piece of you and created another being, just like Source did with you. And then that being is going to grow into a being like you, eventually. But he's in right now as Squeak, just the way you were a cat person, and you were a cat at one time, man who walks in all worlds. And I'm like, let me out of this fucking box right now before I fucking tear it open. And they were like, we want you to tear it open from the inside. They're like, don't just walk out, like blow it out. And I'm like, yo, all right. And then that's when my hands were doing the thing, and I had the energy in my hand. It was like, here you go. And I couldn't hold it. It felt like my hand started to weigh heavy, and it got brighter and brighter, and it felt like it was going to pop, and like it would kill everyone around. Like it would, if that would have popped, like Paula in the other room sleeping would have been torn to shreds. And all the cats and the house and the wall and the computer, everything. So I was like, no, I got this. And then my other hand lit up, and it did the same thing, and I couldn't hold both of them. And there was a weird pop, and I fainted onto Squeak, which I felt horrible, like I'd landed on him forward. And he meowed at me, and I growled because I felt the thing behind me again, and I knew I was transforming. I go, what's happening? And I grew a mane. My beard turned into a giant mane. And I was like, yo, I'm going to kill whatever's standing there. And it calmed down at that point. They were like, calm down, calm the fuck down. Because I fainted on the cat, and I thought I hit my forehead on his head. And then when I opened my eyes, it wasn't what I thought it was. Like, he was looking at me with his paw on my forehead. So I didn't hit him like that. Yeah, Squeak was down, man. You know him. So that was an original being. But what I saw was that it was my higher self running the being. Just like you have a whole bunch of animals, right? So
yeah, I got 5.
Right. So you're doing what I'm doing, right? So most likely a bunch of those are you.
Oh yeah.
Right? So you love those animals more than you love yourself, right? Now you got to start loving yourself as much as you love the animals. And then watch what happens. That's a new thing, right? It's like the non-hubristic way to do it. Unconditional love, but for you too. Right? So when you're like, oh, I'm a piece of shit, I'm not worthy, you're casting a magic spell. You're the creator of everything saying, I have nothing. So boom, magic, done. Intent goes behind it. So start believing more.
I don't think that those thoughts anymore. Oh, I'm a piece of shit. I'm a loser. I'm not going to be nothing. Those thoughts are gone.
All right, so you've pulled me. I know they're gone from you because I pull you into my scenarios at times, and I tell you this, you're like a giant fucking monster warrior guy. Just you're like a bigger version than me, right? Like if I was Spartacus, you would be like Little John, that giant motherfucker, right? Just like whatever I'm here to do, I'm smashing it and fucking taking it, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. But my boy Josh is like, there's a couple of us that are like that. Paul is like that. Paul is very not. Paula looks like Paula, just a little taller, and she just walks in, and this is
Paula
why.
just taller.
Paula, just a little bit taller. Then she walks in the room. They fall for her. All right, so I'm telling you, she looks just like her, but like just a little different, right? Like the higher version. And demons, and I say this all the time because I'm the one that attracts that shit by having the ceremonies with me and the people leaving their shit behind. She walks in the room. They all go, fuck, it's her. Run. And they hide into me. They jump into the animals. They go hide behind the crevices. And I'm like, y'all fucking not scared of me. The one screaming, I'm the fucking creator. I'm going to wreck everything here. They're like, yeah, you're a punk, bro. That, we don't know. The answer is no. Like, they don't even want to be in the same room. Bro, I was purging entities, and they were screaming that it was her. Oh, no, it's her. And like they wanted out of me because she comes over and touches me, and it ruins the day for her somehow, for them. So that's where the Paula demon removal service comes from. What do you want, right? Like that. I've never seen that. Like she looks calm, very not warrior. She looks very majestic, like princess or some. I don't, not quite princess. That might be the wrong thing. You know, like Amazonian queen or something. And she walks just in the room and they run. You and I look like we'd fuck someone up, yet they fuck with us. Which is something I'm still, and they're just like, it's your balance, man. Like she's already balanced that way. That's like what she can do. Like if she had a power, that's her base power. She just walks in the room. It's just her.
What is she? Is she Aquarius? Isn't it, her birthday's coming up?
Her birthday's on the
16th?
2 week, yeah, the 16th. Thanks for
yeah, it's right near my mom's.
Yeah. But yeah, man, hyper powerful. And this is her time now. Right? I'm a Leo. This is her time now. We're entering that age, that time. This is when it's on fire for those people. So everyone has a specific thing they're good at, you know? And like you don't seem to freak out. Like I freak out a little bit. Like I'll go, oh, you're not supposed to be here. Blah, 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 blah. Or holy shit, you exist. Like you seem to be like pretty calm with it.
Well, now, dude, I freaked out years ago. When I first met Johnny, okay, Johnny is my best friend. He's the guy I've been talking about all day. When I first met him, you know, it was weird the way we met because I moved here to Texas from New York, and I started working in this pizza shop. And the first time he walked in, I was like, "What's up, Johnny?" And he's like, "What's up, Nikki?" And we stopped and we looked at each other because we never met. And that was strange. So then we started hanging out at my house in Lillian, Texas. And it was like my little tiny house and then nothing but 300 acres of open pasture behind us. And so we would trip every day. We'd acid every single day. And we never, you know, it wasn't like just to get high. It was kind of like it is with ayahuasca. It was a growing, learning, awakening type of thing. It was very, very bizarre. I don't know how to. It was amazing. But one day, whenever we had taken each one little tiny baby hit of acid that shouldn't have done what it did to us, but that was the first time we met our bigger selves. And our faces changed. He changed. He was a different person. But then it got a little scary. You know, like it was the first time like he was across the room and he said something to me, but he didn't move his mouth, and that kind of I was like, what the fuck, man? And then I said in my head, I was like, this isn't real. And he spoke to me. He's like, yeah, it's real, Nikki. And then that's where I freaked out. I got really scared about that because I didn't know what the hell was happening. And then his face changed, and I thought he was a demon, and I freaked out. I got up. I was like, get the fuck away from me. You know, I went in my bedroom, But while this was happening in the kitchen, my girlfriend at the time was in the bedroom freaking the fuck out. I don't know what happened to her. She was totally sober. She started screaming, "Get out of the house!" throwing like flower vases at the mirrors, breaking the mirrors in the bedroom. And I thought Johnny was this demon, and I was freaking out. So I like got up, I ran to the bedroom, I got on my bed, calmed her down. And Johnny came in the room. I was like, "Stay the hell away from me!" I picked up like this. Somehow there was like a rusty knife on my bed, so I picked it up. I was like, "Stay away from me! I'll kill you." So I did freak out when this all started.
What made it easier?
Trusting. Like, so I was worried when I went to New York, because I don't trip with people. I don't do this stuff with anybody. It's not I don't go to raves and eat mushrooms. I don't do anything like that.
I don't do any of that. I used to.
You know?
Well,
Yeah.
But I don't do that.
But I have a real aversion to doing anything like this with people who aren't with me. Like, so I was really worried, because you're like, "Yeah, Paul and I aren't going to drink. We're just going to, be there for you." And I was like, "Oh shit." So I was really scared that something was going to happen, and I was going to freak out, and but
our meeting was incredible. Once I met you, I felt like I knew you.
Yeah.
I had no ill thought or weird thought,
Nothing.
I thought you were a little bigger than I thought you were going to be. Like, you were very muscular and bigger, but I felt at home with you. I was just like, I hope he don't flip out while he's under. I was like, 'cause he's a little big for me. But you're awesome. You're an awesome person, and it really came through. And then we had about 1 million synchronicities start blasting us in our face. Oh, what about you're under, and I wanted to go under with you to see what you were going through, and I wind up purging, doing a hit of DMT. As soon as I go under, they're like, "You have an attachment." And I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" And I go in the other room, and I'm throwing up in the other room because I don't want you to see me go through that, because you're under, and I didn't want you to see what I was battling, because I was afraid for you. I was like, "Yo, if he sees this shit, he's gonna lose it." Because I saw it, and I went, "No fucking way." This thing was attached to me like a suction cup with teeth. And it was. I looked right up, and it was right there, like, "What back?" And I was like, "It's got me." And I was like, "Wait a second, It was already in me. It happened so fast, and I ran in the other room and was throwing it up. But then afterwards, I think it was the other.
Yeah, I went outside. I left while you were doing that. I left. I was standing at your gate between those twin trees out front.
Ah, yes, the giant gumdrop trees. It looks like a Candyland thing.
Yeah. You know what I noticed? There's another one of those gumdrop trees. You don't have twins. You have 3 of them in front of your house.
Yes.
I have one in front of my house.
Get out of here.
Swear to God.
Does it have the
Johnny and I were talking about it today.
Does it have the little bite taken out of the top, like on mine? It looks like a giant came by and just bit like a piece off of the muffin.
No, but the center, the center back of it, it's chopped off, like almost where it meets my house. So when I'm smoking, if I'm standing at my window, it's like I'm looking into this geometric portal. It's really pretty.
That's awesome.
It's really pretty. I'll send you a picture later. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're the same kind of trees, but it's got like this really like pretty looking fern leaves, but like a pine tree, but not. I'll send you a picture. It's really neat.
One of the things, so people know about you and I, is that you're originally from here, right? And I used to date, and when I was 16, the girl that you knew, and
yeah, my girlfriend at the time is best friend.
Right. Okay. And we never met. We might have met, but don't remember. But you moved to Texas. I go on to become a rapper and a weirdo and an inspector and going on tour and doing all this stuff. You go off to Texas, become a graphics artist and a designer and doing all this cool stuff. And then you find me. We develop a small relationship that was really nice, as a matter of fact, with through Hop, my bird that passed away. And from there, you came here when I guess you came home to meet, see your pops or something. And then we had our experiences together. So it's like we grew up together, pretty much in the same circles, and then you bounced out to Texas to come back here just to drink ayahuasca with me when I became a shaman years later. But there's this comfort, you know, when you grow up around a certain groups of people, you like feel the attitudes and maybe it's the flesh suit design of the Italians and the this and the that are in the area, and you kind of have this collective group mind about it almost, and you know, cultural boundaries and stuff, and we're attached at so many levels. So when I saw you, it was like immediately feeling like I was with a buddy. It wasn't like somebody from Ohio that's like, "Oh, hello, Frank. I'm very frightened right now." It was like, "Hey, it's nice to meet you, man. What's up? Let's sit down. Let's talk." Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, dude, that was the most comfortable. It was crazy. I was really nervous going in because I was like, shit, you know. But it was so comfortable. I knew you guys forever. Even Paula felt like I knew her for always.
And Paula, you knew her circle of friends.
Yep.
Right now, I grew up in the same neighborhood as Paula, and never met her.
Never met her. That's
and then
insane.
She knew and hung out with an entire group of people that I knew and hung out with, and everybody else, and I knew all her crew. Never met her though.
Yeah, I remember hearing about the Morris Park boys. I didn't like when you guys came into town.
Dude, we'd come up there with our jackets on and shit too. I had a black satin.
Jackets?
Yeah, we had black satin jackets that said Italian Boys, Morris
Embroidered.
Park. Yeah, embroidered
I
on
remember
there.
those jackets. Holy shit! I remember the Italian Boys, Morris Park.
That was me.
Yeah, we had Mount Vernon bad boy hats, like baseball caps. I wish I still had that thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I got rid of my jacket. Very gang-like now that I think about it. None of this shit would fly today.
No, nothing.
You can't even be in the park after sundown now. We used to hang out and throw whatever we want. We used to do just literally whatever we wanted.
Yeah, dude. Remember Fleetwood? We were tons of us just like hanging out at the park and on the corner by Baskin and Robbins. And there's nothing like that now.
So when I was younger, they would go, whatever you do, you go everywhere you want. Just don't go to Fleetwood.
Why?
Because all those kids that were hanging. It's not that I was personally afraid of any one person individually, but as a collective group of 100 or more, I would say that it's probably best to stay away.
We were a bunch of assholes. We were so bad. I don't even want to. Anyway.
No, so you know what's funny, though? Even though we might have been bullies or been bullied, whatever way we found our way to the point we're at now, we always found ourselves in positions of wanting to be more or better and couldn't understand, and we lashed out maybe over fear or anger of ignorance, right, of what a man's supposed to be.
Well, you know, Frank, not to cut you off, but I was doing it to fit in. I've always been different. Like a lot of these things that we talk about and my theories on, you know, time and reality and Bible, all this stuff, I've always had them. I've always, like, ever since I remember being 3-4 years old, thinking about these things and wondering why I could, you know, at nighttime, my toys would get up and walk around the room, and the little Batman rub-on transfers that I had tacked to the wall next to my bed, why Batman would jump off of there and run around the fucking ceiling. So I've always been, I hate this word, woke. But I've always been different. You know, I've always knew there's something wrong with this place. Why can't I fly? Why can't I stick my hand through the wall and get my toys out of the closet? You know, why can't I do anything that I'm supposed to be able to do here? You know, and so I always tried to fit in, to be human. And but the people around me were a bunch of, you know, we were nuts. They were all nuts. And so I took that, and then I wanted to, you know, show that I was like them. I was a bully. I was a jerk. But there's always like some little voice inside of me guiding me, keeping me from going a little bit too deep into that way of life.
Oh, you're lucky. I went full face first into that.
And then when I came here basically to get away from, you know, that type of stuff. I didn't do I've never tripped. I didn't smoke weed until I was like 19 years old. Then I came to Texas and had my first hit of acid. That was different. But then that experience with Johnny, where his face started changing, and I was going to kill him with this rusty knife that magically appeared in my bed. After that, I went back to New York. I was like, you know what? This is too crazy. I'm out. And I went to New York. And I was going to stay in New York. I was trying to decide, should I stay in New York? Should I go back? Should I stay here? What should I do? And that is when I had that dream of Chris Geo. That was in 1996. And Chris said that, he always says on the show, he tells a story about how he was doing like MDMA and cocaine, and he got really sick. And he thinks that he died and somebody stepped in. And he was living here where I am now back then. So I'm thinking that, and I had this dream. I was at my parents' house, and I dreamt of Chris Geo sitting at their dining room table, just like kind of sitting back, laughing with that signature laugh of his. But he had these glowing yellow eyes. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? He scared the shit out of me. And it was kind of a scary conversation. I don't remember any of the conversation. And then when I found you guys, I was Googling ayahuasca, and I came across the video with you and Chris talking about, it was like the first one that you guys did together on Beyond the Veil. And that was like last March or April. And I saw him, and I was like, what the fuck? It freaked me out because it was that dude. But while I was in New York, we had that conversation. I'm thinking maybe Chris, before he walked into this body like he believes he did, he came to New York, stopped in with me, told me to get my ass back to Texas because Frank's got New York locked up. And I had to come here, take my spot here, and then Chris left and went to the other corner of the country.
All right, so he discussed this last night. You realize that, right?
Who discussed this?
Chris.
I missed the beginning of the show.
All right. Me and Chris had a conversation, and it sparked, I guess, one of the shows the other night, maybe the topic of the show. And our conversation was, all right, we've already tried every combination, because people were saying we should have the compound where we all live together. And I'm like, we can't do that. You have to get that idea out of your head. We're going to have that time, not for a compound or whatever. We're just where you're free and we could just meet each other and hang out. And we could have all the time in the world to hang out with each other. But we cannot be grouped into one spot together.
Yeah, we're like a blockchain.
Oh, it's beautiful. We're exactly like the blockchain. Everyone has to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
And cover an area. And we have to create a grid and then bring the family together through the use of the technology and the weapons that would be used against us by the dominating forces here in this reality. So we're doing it right now. I'm talking into this. You're in Texas. I'm here in New York. We're going back and forth about it. 2 different time zones. We're going to connect, and then this is going to go live, and people all over the world are going to hear this. Right? So Chris is out there. He creates Truth Frequency Radio. My song Watchtower was, for 4 years, was the show, the end of his show. He played the beginning of my song. And when he was all truther, I did an interview with him because of the song and everything, and it was a great interview. And then I knew he was out there doing his thing with Truth Frequency, but it became something completely different. And then when the ayahuasca thing happened, it was years later. It was like almost 10 years later. It was weird. Like, I had my show in his neighborhood, my first show, and then he called me for a new interview. He was like, "Oh, I see what you're doing online, and that's my neighborhood. You come stay with me and drink ayahuasca." And I was injured, planning to go to ayahuasca in Peru, but couldn't find the money to do that because I had nothing. I literally had nothing. And I'm like, I don't know what to do to make the money to do this, but I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and it just synchronicities lined up and fit. I wound up at the airport. He picked me up. I was in his house for almost a week before I went, and then I think it was a Sunday night. I had to go on stage with these guys, and I didn't even know if I could do this anymore. And I went out there and I crushed it. And the Indie Boom 2014, 2015 tour was such a wild experience for me because I went from just being one of 42 acts to actually Frank Castle with his buddy Mr. Burns literally leading the charge and opening for these guys constantly. And when they fired everyone at one point, there were 7 groups left at the end of the tour, and I was like opening the whole thing. People were cheering all the time, having a great time. It was like all the experts were there, and I was brought in all the back rooms. They were like, "How do you know?" Like the Wu-Tang has the 36 chambers, and you know it's comical to some people, and it's just like mystical nonsense to others, kung fu stuff. But when I drank, I smoked DMT over and over and over again for that week. They were showing me the different chambers, but it wasn't chambers for Wu-Tang. It was like the reality of things. And when I got there, I was just talking constantly about it. Like it was the most retarded thing that's ever happened to me, ever. I was like, dude, I've thrown myself out of airplanes and gone bungee jumping and hung by my feet off of buildings. Like none of this worked. And now it's this. I was just missing spirituality, and all this is going on. All my fantasy came back, my love of life, and all this other. But I was at the bottom and had to work my way back up. So I built this awesome platform of mental preparation. But when I was with those guys, I was just spitting secrets out, and they were like, "Come backstage, come behind closed doors." When they were doing their business, I was with them doing some stuff. I was just hanging out, watching, and they had. What are the guys that cut the chicken heads off? Like a voodoo guy? They had this guy, Carl, that was like that guy. Right? So they had a dude that would sacrifice animals.
Santeria?
Yeah, it was some nasty shit. He had Bacardi on him constantly, and he'd spit it in the air, and he'd look at you like he's going to fucking murder you. He'd be like, "Don't you dare make fun of me, Frank Castle." Like, it was just weird shit. And I'm like, dude, you don't need to do any of that. You know, you are the consciousness. It's you. You could just have the intent to... But... there's something more going on with Hollywood. There's like a being, a sinister consciousness that rolls deep and just runs that shit. So when you're working with that, they're like, you have to have your own working with you or you don't make it. Like you'll never be able to do it, which is why you don't see them anymore. It's not just because they're old. They put out albums. They're awesome. Better than all this crap that's out today. Guaranteed. Right? Yet you won't hear nothing. And then they all have internal issues as it is anyway. But watching this go down after experiencing what I went through in the music industry, then hurting myself, making my way back, being on tour with them, just going through ayahuasca and DMT and wanting to share it, they wouldn't let Mr. Burns in the back room. They were like, your boy can't come. And I wasn't staying in hotels with any of them like that. I was in my own spot with the other bands that were performing, but I was brought into all the meetings. All of them. All of the backroom stuff. I was part of all of it. And I was going, wow. And they're like, because you see it, don't you? I'm like, no, I literally see it. You guys are like reading books and assuming certain things. And you have a priest kind of character. You have a dude that's killing things and then praying to a certain Saturn god. I don't know what he's quite doing yet. You have a guy that does your charts. And I can just see it. Like literally, my eyeballs see it. That's my gift.
Have you always been like that? Like
no.
You're always the different one, though? Like
always the different one, but never
to attract to you, even though you were the weirdo?
Yes. But in a bad way and a good way.
Yeah.
I have a face, my mother tells me, people either love you or they want to smack you right in the fucking face. Which is where I got the face man from when I was rapping when I was younger. And they used to go, I'll slap you in the face, man. And then I just said, face man, whatever. Right? Because my mother wants to punch me. She's like, it's just something about you. So I would have a crowd of good people with me, and then the negative crowd would attract to that. Like, it's a problem. Like, I would hang out in the park, and people would want to jump me. Except I can handle myself, so you'd get your ass fucking handed to you if you tried that shit. Plus, I grew deep with the real gangsters in the neighborhood. I grew up with all of them, the real ones, where their fathers were and their grandfathers were. So
yeah, my family was.
But these guys were like animals in the street. They weren't like, oh, my dad is this. They were like, my dad is going to kick my ass when I get home because he drinks and he does all this fucked up shit. But I'm going to fuck you up for just being here starting shit. So it was like the anti-bully squad that was on a different road. And then I didn't do the stuff with them, though. Like, I didn't jump people. I jumped somebody once, and I got paid back by this nerdy guy. Like, I slapped him because I was like, oh, this guy's a dick. And I just slapped him. And he threw a punch not looking and almost knocked me unconscious. Like, I was leg wobbled and going out, like literally, like, "Bleh." And I'm way bigger, way stronger. This kid, he like threw like a girl punch, like a, and it caught me perfect. And I dropped in front of all these people, but I didn't go down, like out. So everyone went, oh, and then I got up and I beat him up, and then I left, and I never did that again. I actually witnessed that happen twice. And one time they took this 15-year-old kid, and they were like, you want to hang out with us? And I was like, dudes, don't. I was telling the kid, don't do that. Don't listen to anything these assholes tell you. And they were going, shut up, you fucking pothead. So I'm like, yeah, the alcoholics are calling us potheads. We're the drug addicts, but you're nothing. You just smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, and stab and shoot people. Okay, well, I have to live right across the street, so I'm not going to deal with this. So if you bring this here, I'm going to fuck you up. Plain and simple. I got my crew, you got yours. We're not violent, but we're going to get violent in 2 seconds. So they took this 15-year-old kid, and they took those, the Yankee bats that they don't give out anymore, the little ones?
The little ones, yeah.
This fucking kid wrapped quarters around that with black tape.
Holy shit.
So it looked like a mace. Dude, it wasn't even normal looking. It was outrageous looking. I go, dude, you're going to do what with that? He goes, I'm going to break this over that kid's head over there. And I go, that kid is fucking 15. And he's like, well, I'm 15. So I go, but they're 20-something. And I'm telling you right now not to do that. And my crew of people was the Heist Clique. We were rapping back then. We had just started. There was also a rock group, and we were all getting together and having a good time. And this fucking kid took that bat, and the other kids were like, I don't want to say anybody's names because they're all gone now. They never made it. None of these kids did. He went over to this kid that was a nice kid. He was playing Magic and shit, and I liked him. And I go, yo, kid, get up. And he was not a fighter. And this kid just cracked him in the head like twice, broke the bat over his fucking head, sent the kid home with a split open head. I saw that, and I was like, that's going to never happen. I told the kid right there, I told the older kid, I says, okay, check it out. That happens again, you're getting it, even if it's not you. And he was like, it was on with him. He hated me. He was like, bro, I'll fucking stab you. And then a friend of mine did something really bad. He wasn't really, he was like a school friend. And then they were saying, yo, we got to get this kid. Look what he did. And I'm like, yo, that's pretty fucked up. That's really foul. So they're like, yeah, he's Mr. Kung Fu. You were going to fight him. You knocked him out. I'm like, yeah, I go to school with him, though. Like, they were like, well, we're going to get him right now. So we ran around the block, and they were beating him like it was a horror movie. And there was like a lot, like where they were building homes, and they caught him in the mud. It was like a movie scene, and they were drowning him and kicking him, and I started breaking it up because I didn't want to be there. But I didn't want to leave the kid. And there was a few of us that felt this way. Like, no, I didn't do nothing, but I ran after them and caught him. I didn't actually touch him, though. And I started breaking it up. And they were like, you're dead. They looked right at me like, you're getting it next. And I was like, yo, you fucking bring it, bro. And the next time I walked into the park, there was 40 kids I didn't know. And I thought they were my friend. I walked in. I was like, oh, wait, I know this kid. I don't know any of these people. Who's this? And then it just went down. They surrounded me. And I was standing there, and I go, what's up? And boom, they jumped me from every direction. They had older kids there. I got stabbed in my chest one night down the block. The girl, I told you the story. The girl got punched in the face, and I ran over. I was drunk. And they were like, yeah, they were laughing and shit. And I knew the girl. I hung out with her a few times. She was way older. I was like, what are you doing? And I punched one kid, knocked him out, and I punched the other kid, and then he screamed for help. And the car that was right there had kids in it. I didn't know. And they all got out, and they were with those two kids, and they started stabbing me. And I was like, yo, it was the craziest thing. It was crazy. My leg broke. My palate broke. I never did anything like that fucking shit again, man. You learn the hard way. I was like, I can't live here like this. I fucking ran to Florida, right? And what happened to me in Florida? I wind up in jail, right? Yep. Guy's robbing my house, just so people know. And then shit goes down in my house. He falls off the property, and I got in trouble for it. I was right. So I was acting like an animal, the way I was in New York, in Florida, where I thought there were no other animals, and meanwhile, everyone's a fucking animal. Like, you're not thinking straight. You just brought. Yeah, Paul's right. You just brought your problem down there, and now you have nobody, and it winds up there. And I was telling her some stories before that'll make your fucking head spin when it comes to trust and people and things that went down there. Like, to me, I go, I can't even believe that life. Like, but to get where I am now, I had to go through this horror show. And I did stuff like I was security for Aerosmith for a little bit. I worked on movie sets, and everybody started telling me, you belong on this side. And meanwhile, I was a rapper. doing my thing the whole time, and it was getting better and bigger and better and bigger. And I was like, don't worry about it. I got my own gravy train. I don't need yours to eat. I never ate off of anyone else's plate. Why?
Right.
Because what you said earlier, it was like mine. Like I had my thing going. It was just me. I attracted it. Right? But I never used that to my advantage, like the way I should have. Like if I would just go with love and respect and being grateful and put that good foot forward, I would have had the fucking world by now. And I don't want it, bro. I was on stage with these guys, and I'm like I was so happy, and my boy was drunk, and he like passed out on stage, like on the speaker, and I had to do his parts, and I'm like, yo, there's members of Woo here. Even though we did it so many times, we've done these performances. It was kind of towards the end, and none of them liked each other. They really didn't like each other, and I was smiling like a dick. Like a fucking baby on stage going, I love what I'm doing, but nobody's happy but me. But I'm not happy now because of that thought, because this isn't about me being a solo rapper. I'm here with my dude, and my dude's fucking $10,000 in debt, blacked out on a speaker. He's the nicest guy I've ever met. Literally, he's not a gangster. He's not nothing. He's just awesome guy, family awesome, and he could rap really good. And here he is, falling on his fucking face on stage, 10,000 in debt because we went on tour with his fucking heroes. And I'm here, and I'm trying to pull him out. And Ayahuasca just spent 5 days telling me, just make sure he doesn't like fall off 100%. Like you're not going to be able to stop anything that happens, but you could be there for your friend. And he didn't want me to be there. So I was battling that. My ex was at the time trying to break up with me when I was on the tour. All kinds of crazy. They were banging everything that walked.
I'm sorry. So your first ayahuasca journey was telling you to help somebody else?
To help Burns, my partner in Heist Click. They showed it. They showed me what was going to happen, but I thought he was going to die. And they were like, no, he's not going to die. He's going to die off. And I'm like, my friend's going to die? And they're like, no, he's going to, and he left the group after that, after the tour. He fucking turned, he went back to Canada. He was rapping. He opened a studio, did some shit. I went up there. I did one show. And then he was like, I can't ever do this anymore. It's not working. And I go, well, you're not doing it right. You're trying to be them. You got to be you. And that's it. I haven't spoke to Burns in fucking years. Like, it was just gone off the map. Just family man. Fine. It's good. It's beautiful. But I explained this to me. I thought he was going to die. And I'm like, no, you can't die. Just they did the same thing to my ex. I drank in the house, and they were like, oh, she's gonna die off. And I'm like, well, you're going to kill her? And they're like, no. What are you, stupid? And I'm like, well, you're showing me this shit. And they're like, yo, she's going to tell you in the morning to leave. And I'm like, yeah, right. I'm a fucking rock star, bro. I don't give a fuck what you say, right? And she was like, all right. And then the next morning, right, she poured me coffee, made me breakfast. She's like, morning, honey. I'm like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Whatever. I was all weirded out because she was always yelling at me. And she's like, yeah, she slid everything over to me. She's like, I want you to enjoy this. I made this just for you. And I'm like, all right, awesome. And I started eating, hanging out. I lit a joint. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. She's like, I want you out of my house by Saturday. She's like, I fucking absolutely hate you. And one of the things with her, she saw entities in the house, and she wasn't I wasn't under either, but I was sitting in the living room, and I heard laughter, but like little kid laughter. And I looked up, and we had like this really long apartment, and it was like this big giant room. And I looked, and I didn't see anything, and the ceilings, everything was white, painted white. These like starfish looking thing were flipping, almost like if you picture a starfish as a cartoon character, and then it starts doing like acrobatics. It was on the there were two of them on the ceiling doing that. And they ran across the ceiling, all the way across, and I was going, what the fuck? And they dove into the mirror, one, then the other. And then I go, well, luckily my ex, I don't want to say her name, didn't see that, right? And then I hear laughter again, and I look up, and she's standing there with her mouth open, her finger up at the ceiling, like, you look, ah! And this thing, and they're black, so they look like little starfish shadows, starts flipping across the ceiling. It was like the last one to jump in the mirror, and it jumps in the fucking mirror. And she looks at me and she's like, "What are you doing in my house? Are you bringing demons into my house?" I'm like, "I'm not under ayahuasca. I haven't touched it. I swear to God, I haven't touched it," because she got mad at me. She was like, "I don't want that shit in my house." I'm like, "All right, I won't do it no more." So I try to play that, and then boom, you're out. I had some in the fridge and I drank it anyway. But I didn't want to start no shit because I didn't have no place to live. Right? But how do you explain that to somebody? She came out of the room one night and she yelled at me, and I was sitting on the floor, and I was talking to my dead uncle, who just happened to be sitting in my chair, and he looked awesome. It was like the best version of him I've ever seen ever. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And I go, "You've been dead like 20-something years." And he starts talking to me, and she walks out and goes, "How many times?" It was like 2, 3 in the morning or some shit. She goes, "How many times I told you I don't want your fucking friends in my house?" So I go, you see him, right?" And she's like, "I want him out. I want you out. I want everybody." She's always yelling. Next morning, she's like giving me shit. And I'm like, "Yo, that was, you saw that?" She's like, "Yeah, I told you not to have anyone here." I'm like, "That was my dead uncle sitting there." And she was like, "I hate that you met Chris Gio."
That's fucking great. Wow.
So
I hate that you met Chris Gio. That's fucking dope.
He put up a tape that he took down. They have film of me, and I think I was channeling or something. I don't know. It was weird. I was unconscious, but I was fully aware of what was going on, and they put a camera in my face because they couldn't believe it. They thought, Chris is like, "I thought you were having a fucking seizure," and then you sit up and start fucking blah, 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 blah. So he busts out a camera, and the light woke me up. So I was like, "What?" And then they shut the light off, and I could hear them talking, and I go back under, and I start talking again, and I knew I was talking, but I wasn't aware. I was aware of a lot of things, but I wasn't aware of what was going on 100% in the physical realm. So apparently I was talking to them about stuff, love and where it comes from and where they took me and where I'm at and what's happening and why we're all here in the room together at the same time. So they just shut the light off on the camera, and they put up about 2.5 minutes of this on YouTube. So she saw what looked like, you can't see nothing in the video. You could see my face a little bit because they put the camera really like in my face and then pull it away. And you could hear them talking. And I'm just going on. And you can hear at some points this weird echo in my voice that's coming from me. And it just sounds so fucking weird. So he played that, or he had it up on YouTube, and she saw that and called him and screamed at him that I was possessed by a demon. Traditional ways are a motherfucker, my friend. Right? Everything's a demon when you don't know what anything is, right? Oh, that's a monster. That's a demon. It's an alien. It's a demon. It's a demon. It's a demon. Only why? You're not Catholic. You grew up. You went to Catholic school, and then never ever did anything further than that, except when you show up at a wedding or something. I don't know. You go to a random church thing to see your nephew or niece or whatever. So why you would even push that's beyond me. But I'll tell you what, when you see these fucking things, the first thing you think of is demon, if you don't know any better. I knew those were elves, though. See, that's the thing. When those starfish things, those were the DMT elves that people claim they see. That was a version of them, right? It wasn't.
I still have not seen these DMT elves.
You just ask.
I don't. No, see, I don't even care. I let them show me what they want to show me. Like
See,
my intention lately is show me what I need to see right now.
Right. I've been under and in and aware of this for so long that when I didn't see them, I was like, "Where are they?" They're like, "Dude, you kind of passed that, right? Like they're there doing their job. You have to do your job now." And I just go for it. And when I see them, I just, "Hey, what's up, guys?" And they're like, "What's up?" And I just keep.
You think that they're like the greeters, like when you walk into like Olive Garden or some restaurant, you always have somebody.
There's the collective consciousness creates these things, or they're a product of the system somehow or whatever. I'm not quite 100% sure, but I do know what they do. I've watched them do it. They sing things into existence, just like McKenna said, but it's weird. It's like what you are thinking of, right? Like you start thinking of your future. I would like this and this house and this view and this, and they start building that into existence. They help you. The universe bends to your will when you start putting the proper intent into it when you pay attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're the things that start building it, and then you change your mind, and then it falls apart. Okay, so that crumbles away, and they have to clean it up and build the new thought because you're everything, right? So I think of them as the doozers in Fraggle Rock.
Yes.
They're constantly building those designs, right? Those little things, and that's what the Fraggles eat. So they just come over and break it like Godzilla all the time, and they never complain. They just go back to building. So
That's
the
what they love
Fraggles
to
always
do,
have
huh?
something to eat. The doozers are always there because they don't get mad, and they sing while they work. They're whistling. What is it? Whistle while we work. Do 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 do. The Seven Dwarves. What do you think that's for? They're creating the path, the reality they want by going on the journey they desire inwardly to have as the fucking hero. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. I understand that.
Yeah. So this is what they're doing. So I mean, interacting with them is fun on one level, but on another level, it's kind of rudimentary as the creator. And it sounds sucky when I say it like that. I do not mean it in a sucky way. I mean it in a beautiful way. They have to do their job and their purpose, but you got a million other fucking things you need to do and take care of that are so much more important. This is why I tell people, you know, it might take like 3 or 4 ayahuasca sessions for you to break through. But when you do, it's a fucking wrap. So don't beg for something you're not ready for. Your body's got to be clear. Your body's got to be clean. You got to be in this state of mind. You got to, and then you got to go through the actual process and let it disseminate in you and take its time to work. It's like Drano, liquid Drano, working at the unclogging the drain. Then once the drain is unclogged, you need to rebuild the parts of the drain that have been fucked up and corroded. And you got to scrub all that stuff out, make it squeaky clean because you need to drink out of that maybe. Right? Maybe it becomes a drink. So it's got to be clean. It's got to be spotless. As a matter of fact, we need to smoothen the walls out in here and make everything nice. And right, to do that, you got to release your karma. You got to transmute your negative energies. You got to, whatever you want to call it. You got to activate your chakras. You got to learn how to use them just to learn they're a control system. Then you get rid of them. They just fall off naturally. Why? Because you're the creator. You don't need that shit because that was implanted in you. And then that's a whole nother story. You know, there's a lot happening, man. You know, a lot. So as it comes out, this is why we do the podcasts and the radio shows, and we have to show them the narrative. It's there. My narrative, I'm visually seeing it and making descriptions of it. We're having all these synchronicities lining up, and we're talking about it. How else do we do this? Right. Think about McKenna, right, before the internet. We were talking about this, Paula and I, right? So you can't do what you and I are about to do right now, right? Well, he's traveling to a place by plane and cab and car where you have to spend food and money and all kinds of resources to go somewhere.
Just sit in a room with a
house.
bunch of people to listen to them talk about exactly this.
Exactly, right? And then what do you got, 40 people in the room? Right? And then you got to go on to the next place and the next place. Those guys paved a fucking road for us. McKenna's my hero because that's what they did. Those old timers could really grind that shit out. My grandfather would say, they don't fucking make men like your mother anymore, do they? And I go, you know what? You're a fucking animal, but you're so right, and I love you. Right? Because you're right. My grandfather's like, I was around before air conditions. I used to walk up fucking flights of steps in Co-op City to bring to the fucking 30th floor ice bricks.
Co-op City, holy shit.
Right? So we had to do one fucking ice brick at a time. And we did the building a day. I'm like, holy shit, you guys are nuts. And he's like, right. And he goes, and you complain that your back hurts. And I'm like,
that's why they call it an ice box, huh? My grandmother used to call it an ice box, a Frigidaire.
Because they used to just have a box that didn't run on electricity or not. It was just a fucking box that's insulated, and they throw a giant block of ice in it. It was up to you to chip that shit off. There would be an Iceman for that stuff. So my grandfather's like, we used to carry that shit up and down in fucking August in 105 degrees in the Bronx. And I'm like, all right, you win, bro. You fucking win. I get it. Right? But those guys paved the way for this. Right? And the technology that's supposed to fucking bondage us and lock us into the shitty vibration with just porn and world star hip hop has become this as well. You got stuff like the Joe Rogan experience, which that's what brought me out into even trying DMT and ayahuasca. right? I started my first podcast the day he started his. Not comparing, just saying that look what this has launched into. I used to do comedy with the hip hop, and we used to have MMA fighters and all kinds of porn stars and all kinds of actors and shit and Comic-Con, and we used to perform at all these fucking awesome places. I fucking loved it, but hated it because I couldn't get anyone on board. I couldn't control it in any way, which you don't really want to control it. But you're like the ringmaster, and then everyone's got their hand in your pocket, and they're raping you behind your back in front of you, though. And you're like, yo,
right.
You're supposed to be helping me, not hurting me. Like, this circus would make money and move ahead if you guys didn't stop dipping into shit. Like, if you know what I'm saying? Like, if you didn't try to fuck everyone that walked in the front door, we would be 10 steps ahead.
Right.
Yeah, that's not right, though, because not one of you's rap, except for me. So what do? And my boy would be like, I'm your boy. I'm like, you have to leave. Because I don't need emotional support, because all you're doing is smoking all the weed, trying to fuck all the chicks, and you're telling my producer what to do, and you're giving him fucking 40s, and he's not able to produce because he's drunk, and he wants to get laid now. So you're influencing people in a bad way. Get the fuck out of here. And I had to go through this with every single person. And then my show just fell apart at the end. My boy, the RIC, fucking hung in with me to the end. And, bro, we had thousands and thousands of viewers. And it was so much fun. But it got crazy, and then we had that internal shit happen. And once, just like the music group, things happen, and people have to exit. And I decided to take this road. So now I'm just in control of it. So now I have that lockdown. It's everything I know I don't want, I went and did. That's why you and I are talking right now this way, right? Nobody could stand up and throw their, well, Frank, you're this and you're that. I'll answer all your questions. I'll do all that, but I don't need the interruptions, right? I'm just putting out the message. You want to try to hang me and hang the messenger? We'll take that off to the side. I probably won't even argue with you. I'll just be like, another troll, another troll, another troll. But believe me, I hold my ground when I have to, right? And we all do, because what's the raw consciousness? We talk about it all the time. Sometimes I got to walk really as a light being with love and caring and everything, and sometimes I might have to whip your ass, right? Like people don't understand. When I was a kid, there are certain ways that if you didn't show me exactly what to do and then scare me because I did it fucked up and I wasn't paying attention, I would have like hurt myself really bad in life. In other words, I was playing with fire on the stove, playing with the stove. So my father grabbed my hand, and I can't stand my father, but there's a few things he did that really do stand out, that were good. And he grabbed my hand, and he's like, you like playing with fucking fire, Frank? And I'm like, no. And he's like, we'll put the stove on. He put the stove on. It was fucking flaming. He's like, well, put your fucking hand in the fire. All right, he grabbed my hand, and he was pushing it into the fire. To me, it looked like in the fire. My mother's like, when we grew up later on in life, she's like, you were like 12 feet away from the fire still. You thought you were right being thrown into the fucking oven. Meanwhile, 12 inches away you still are, because you're only, 2 feet tall.
Right.
But that made me not do that ever again. And I was fucking frightened, bro. Right? One time I did something really stupid. I was like eavesdropping, and I shouldn't have been. And I knew I shouldn't have been. And my father rolled up on me and just kicked me right in my ass. Now, granted, he didn't have to fucking kick me. Right? But that fright made me go, you know what? I'm going to just mind my fucking business. Like, I literally was like, I get it. He caught me at the moment when I was having the feeling like this isn't right. But I've learned better than this. But here I am doing it. Why would I be doing? And then bang! And I was like, oh, I'm never doing that again. Like, I never, ever. He also did that with a fucking tomato, and I don't eat tomatoes, like whole tomatoes. I went to go take a bite out of it because I trusted him, and he fucking squished it in my face. Come on, eat it. And I never fucking ate sliced tomato. I can't. I can't. I want to punch him right in his face. So it works in two directions.
I love it. They always gave me tomatoes to eat when I was a kid. From around the corner, this old guy, Sal, had this, or Pat, or whatever the fuck his name is. We had this little place. We used to go there every day. He used to give me fresh tomatoes that he used to grow in his garden and sell at that little corner store. I love tomatoes to this day. I eat them like apples. They're great.
Yeah, well, you and my father probably get along great. That's funny, though. But see, these are the examples that we take through life, right? I was telling Paula the other day, I was like, I think back at my dad, and I don't really think of him. I don't. But I did have a solid 14 years with him, but the first 12 were really pretty decent. So there's a foundation of awesomeness there. I was allowed to be in fantasy, but also be in football.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I was big enough to do both. But I like to dance, and they didn't want me to. They were like, oh, here he goes. He's going to be in theater. But I would punch you in the face, right? So I was rough and tough, but I could do theater. I loved to sing and dance, but I'm totally straight. Like just all these weird fucking cool things, and I was allowed to express that. And then I moved off my block onto into a house in another part of the neighborhood, and I got beat up and then as the bullies were beating me up, I'm like, why doesn't the force work? Like the force doesn't actually work.
That's fucked up. As you're telling the story, I'm thinking about my dad. He used to always tell me when I was a kid, like if I hurt my finger or if I cut myself, he would tell me, heal it, use the force. And then when I got older, I would say something like that. He was like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no force. Like,
right.
You taught me my whole life. Use the force. Now it doesn't work.
I know. And see, it doesn't work. Yet we can't stop physical combat, stop another person from throwing a punch just yet. And you can use the force to heal yourself and do all these wonderful things. But as a 12, 13-year-old kid living on Radcliffe Avenue, when the Gemento twins show up and they're like 15 and they just like, yo, we're gonna do this to you and you're gonna take it because you're a stupid piece of shit. And you go, oh, I'm like Luke Skywalker. I'm gonna fucking stop you with the force. And they just start punching you in the face. And you've never been punched like that. Like you literally have never even seen that in a movie. You just think G.I. Joe is real and he's an American hero. And the A-Team, right? On the A-Team, everyone's shooting and no one ever gets shot. And then they just haul the bad guy off, right? The Lone Ranger, he perfect shot every time, shoots the gun out of his hand. There's no blood, punches you in the face. I'm serious. The Three Musketeers are stabbing people, but there's no blood anywhere. But they're leaving these giant Z's on people. So you're like, what the fuck is going on here, right? And then you're like, yay, and boom, lights out, kid. Fantasy's over. You know this is the boogie down Bronx, bitch. And you go, what? And they're like, yeah, 1979, bitch. 1983, bitch. And you're like, whoa. You know, I had to give up my money. I never gave it up. They took it every time. I fought every time. And then one day, I caught such a beating. I went home, and my father's like, what are you doing? I said, yo, I'm done. I'm done. I went back out. I went to the store. I had my bike with me. He grabbed my bike. I was coming out of the store, and I was like, oh, the bully, it's that kid. And I said, you know what? Get off my bike, right? And he goes, I'm just going to beat your ass now and take your money and your candy. Now, I wasn't that young at that point. I was like 13, 14 years old. And I says, all right. And I just marched out, and the store owner freaked out. He was like, bro, no fighting. And he broke my bike. He squeezed the handlebars, and the brake broke, and he threw the bike on the floor. And I just kept going right into his face, and I punched him. His nose exploded. I've never hit anyone like that, not like that. And then I beat his fucking head in, and the store owner punched me in the back of the head and was like, go get your fucking father. Bring him here now because he lives across the street. And I was like, did you just hit me? I was like, because you're going to get fucked up next. I threw like one of those fits. I was really angry, bro. I was like, yo, who do you think you are? I brought my father over there. Then the bully's brother came out. And my father was with me, and he was like, oh, he goes, I had to come over here to clean up your fucking brother's mess, right? He was yelling about the other kid, and then the older one came over, and I beat him senseless. I beat him into a tree. I was holding his head against a tree, hitting him, and I'm not inspiring anyone to go out and beat up a bully and do that, but I was way smaller than him, and I was chubby, or I would say fat, but my mother kept calling me husky. She didn't want to hurt my feelings. And I was like, I'm not going to take it anymore. And then
it was also different back then, though. We just beat the shit out of each other, and then that was it.
Yeah, I would see that kid all the time, and he'd just leave me alone.
Yeah.
I had to see him all the time. I lived right there. But nobody took anything from me after that. Nobody. They tried. Everybody tries. And then you just hold your ground, and then you don't stick out as like a target anymore for some reason because you've done what you had to do. See, I never went after anyone. I never chased you down and did all that stuff. I don't do that. It's not.
See, my group of friends, I was always the little one. I was always the one that, like, all my friends would fuck with me, because I wasn't like, if me and you are hanging out and we're play fighting, you'll beat the shit out of me because I can't do that. I can't play that way, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And so all my friends would just fuck me up all the time.
Yeah, they'd throw me around too. We'd be wrestling. I'd get drop kicked 400 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I wouldn't punch you back. I would just kind of go with like we were playing, because I can't really do that to my friends. Right. See, I was in that world. I don't want to do this. And then it goes to that. You know, that's what it was around here. Now it's nothing like that. I hang out with kids sometimes. I don't hang out with them. I see them and they're like, oh, Shaman, you know. And they tell me their stories and I go, wow, that's fucking drama. They're like, yo, that's gangster. I go, you bitches are not gangster. Like, I'm gangster to you. And they're like, well, yeah, we know. We heard the story. You're a shaman, so you're gangster than us. I'm like, no, I'll beat up everyone here. I'm like, don't fucking mistake me. But that's not that I'm injured. I would never do anything like that. But to like an 18, 19-year-old that's telling me their story that just sounds like drama. And I'm like, back in our day, that didn't exist. That drama didn't exist. That would be ended in 1 second. I'm like, why don't you just take him outside and slap him in the head? Tell him you can't fucking steal people's fucking iPhones and shit. Why would you even let that dude in the house again on a Friday night drinking? Right? Like, you guys didn't think like, yo, there's 18 of us. We could just grab him by the neck and beat him up and take his money, which is your money that he just stole from you because none of you stick together. And they're like, I didn't think about that. I go, because you're not a gangster. Like, you're not even close. And the fact that you're talking about it makes you even less gangster. And then I go, see, so you're not even on that chart. You're just a dummy. You know? That's why we did Supernova, right? When they go, so you were gangster. You don't impress me none, right?
Absolutely love this song. I play it all the time in my car.
And I'm not a gangster. And I hung out with all of them, bro. I went to DMX's spot in Mount Vernon. There were machine guns and a building that looked like a crack house. And then inside was awesome. It looked like, you know, home improvement show. Yeah. But there were dogs everywhere, that scared the shit out of me, right? But they smoked me out. We had a fucking great time. I met everyone, and then they drove me out. I couldn't drive my own shit onto their lot.
Excuse me.
I had to like leave my stuff up the block with my friends and walk up, get picked up, and be brought in. So I'm not gangster. I was just around that shit, you know, like yeah, no, I'm not going to talk about any more gangster stuff. It's just that that's a false security of gangsterisms, and the language has been hijacked. You know, and my grandfather laughs at me. He's like, "You're nuts," but we were gangsters. And then I laugh at him because I know through the ayahuasca and DMT, his father, my great grandfather, I know him. Like, I see him when I go under sometimes. So he's a gangster, bro. He was running alcohol prohibition with the mob at 15. He made so much money. He bought 3 houses. There were 16 houses here, and it was around a racetrack, and they were all like hua houses. So you go to you go park your car and you go to one of the spots. I forgot what they used to call them. They weren't called hooker houses, but they were like a brothel kind of thing. And you could get drinks, you could play cards, you could wait for the races that you wanted, and then you walk over to the track. So this was all like a parking lot, and then houses erected because the mob needed that, so they built 16 of them. There's all the stories. You could look up Morris Park on Google and see all that stuff. But the Russos have a strong foundation here.
The Russos.
Yeah.
I know that name.
Yeah, everybody knows that name, motherfucker. No, I'm just kidding. That's one of the elders, of course. The bloodline is fucking flowing through that into me. But yeah, so interesting how it all works out. Here's another interesting fact. My great-grandmother, right? So the wife of the man we're talking about, she was a witch, a dark witch, though. So she would put the evil eye on you. Right? So everyone that I know now that knew her, they're all old now, right? So she had a couple of understudies that are now in their like 60s going into their 70s. So they were like in their 20s, maybe younger when they first started this, and they grew up religious in the fact that we can put spells on people and do shit like that. So the Italians have like you'll see like little altars in their houses with all the little figurines.
Let me ask you a question about this stuff. Did she wear like a little red hand? It's like a fist with a fourth with like your pointer finger and the
yeah
and the pinky standing
yeah,
up like the sign
that.
of the What is that? Is it? I think my grandma said
That's
it protects you against the evil eye or something.
Right.
And my grandma used to have like this little red hand.
It's the reflection. Like the evil eye comes in to evil eye you, whatever, shoot energy into your face, and you just have that, and it's reflected right back at whoever.
Yeah, because my grandma
sent
always
it 3
did. She would
times.
take it. She's like, show me with her hand. She would take it and she would twist it like this, like he was doing a screwdriver shape. But that's the symbol that fucking the presidents do and all the quote unquote elite do.
So what do you think
Now,
is
what
going
is
on
that?
there?
I don't know.
Oh,
I haven't
take
thought
a
about
wild
that little
guess.
silly hand. All the old Italian ladies used to have it.
So you think it's just
they're,
a symbol?
They're hijacking the symbols.
Not only are they hijacking the symbol, they're protecting themselves against you. It's multi-layered. Like they're just using it against you. Yep, there's the mirror.
I never thought about that.
It's all magic. This is why nobody said nothing for so long.
I think my Aunt Mary still carries one of those little hands with the fingers.
Yeah, I know. There's a whole bunch over here. The Card Club is right up the block, and then St. Clair's over here has the Mothers Club and all that, and you see them in March just walking around. Remember, the old original security camera was Nana Nona.
Yeah.
Nana Nona sticking her head out the window, putting her business where it don't belong, and she'll go, "What'd you just say? What'd you just fucking?"
4-foot Italian lady.
She would come out,
black clothes and a fucking mustache.
Yeah, she'd come out, and then fucking 6 of them would appear, and you'd be like, "How does every one of my friends' mothers and not friends' mothers?" It's just people on the block. They just take her back. It's like a superpower. She walks out, they all walk out. You're like, "What are you doing?" They're like, "We're watching you the whole time. You don't think I saw you pee on the pole? Why don't you go pee? I'm like, "Whoa, you saw that? You're not supposed to be looking at me." They're like, "Yeah, you go and run in the house and pee." And I'm like, "Oh, Nana, what are you doing? I'll slap the shit out of you. You do that again." Not that that's what I did. It's just those are examples.
Yeah.
But people used to do some stupid shit, so we used to have some fun. But you'd get busted all the time. They don't do that no more. Nobody gets involved anymore. My neighbors have cameras everywhere. This whole place is just lit up with cameras. Right? So you're out on the block. They got you. Got you on camera. Got you. No, I'm going to call the police right now. I'm like, wow, how this neighborhood has changed. These kids were robbing my car, or trying to, one night when I first moved back to my grandparents. I was drinking ayahuasca and just living in a basement. I fucking stuck my head out of the top window to have a cigarette. These guys are robbing my car. They're trying to get in. And I was like, oh my God, yes. I'm going to fuck these kids up, right? And this sounds horrible. And I ran downstairs in my underwear like an old man. I had like boxer briefs on or something, and I ran out, and it was like 20 degrees outside. I go, "Come over here." And they were much faster than me, and they got away. I'm glad they did, because nothing happened. I got away with just chasing them and yelling like a dummy. But I was like, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I would have just yelled at 3 o'clock in the morning, and there would have been a street full of people beating the shit out of them for what they just tried to do. Like, this guy was robbing houses and the garages and putting stuff out in front, and a van was collecting it. So he was like he's jumping your fences in the backyard and putting stuff out front, walking it all the way out front. He jumped into one of the yard with the kids in it, and we were all playing cards and hanging out. I lived next door, so I was just in there hanging out, drinking. I was underage, I was having a good time. Dude jumps the fence and lands on the poker table, right? And the gangsters are all like, "What?" Stun guns literally came out that year. It was like the first time anyone's ever said, "Oh, look, a stun gun," ever. And his dad was a cop, and he stole that shit and came out. It was like, "We're going to play poker, and I'm going to stun the loser." Right? So we're like, oh, shit. And this dude jumped on the fucking table, robbing people's homes. We've been trying to catch this fucking asshole forever. He lands on the table with this guy, right in his money, wrecked the drinks, the weed, everything. And the stun gun starts going. Blah, 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 blah. Come here, you son of a, They chased him up the front of the yard. They got him so many times, the guy peed himself. And then they just let him go. And I'm like, yo, nothing ever happened on the block again. Ever.
Uh-huh.
Never. I'm like, wow, that's policing your own shit right there. I mean, it's a little violent, but think of what they're doing. They're breaking into your home. I told you the story. I was in my apartment, and I was watching the computer. I was going to do something inappropriate, and I had the curtain up for the vestibule, and the fan was on it, so it always looked like somebody was going to walk right from the vestibule through the curtain into the living room. And I'm like, that it never happens, because that won't happen, because you're in a locked house. You're downstairs in the downstairs apartment, and I'm just about to get ready to start, and a dude walks in my fucking apartment at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, comes right at me. He's like, yo, what's up? You know, he said some shit. And I jumped up, and I had a nightstick right there, and I just beat him back away from me. And he was like saying, oh no, I'm just looking for the bathroom. And I'm like, I dragged him upstairs, and there was a crowd of people partying upstairs, and they were robbing the house. The girl upstairs, her parents were gone, and these dudes were like running around the house. So he opened my door and came downstairs into the locked apartment. Like, he unlocked it. They had like an emergency thing, but then you could just walk down. They were like, we're not gonna come down there and bother you, but we have to have this for fire department purposes. Right. And they just unlocked everything and came downstairs. And I beat the shit out of the dude. And then they wound up robbing. I had to take someone home at 8 o'clock in the morning because there was someone in my house with me. And then I had to fucking leave, and they came downstairs at 8 in the morning and robbed me, and then fucking left. It was really bad, bro. It was really bad. They wound up getting arrested, though, which was good. They came back to the house because I had hit the kid with the nightstick. So that kid brought someone back to me, and I was sitting on the porch with the owner of the home when he came home. And I was telling him the story. He didn't believe me. He thought I did it. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, these dudes are in the house. And he's like, they robbed me, man. And I'm like, I'm an inspector, bro. I can't be down with this. Like, I'm not part of this. And they just walked right up and were like, yo, you want to hit my man with a nightstick? And he said, and I was like, yes, I do. And the owner was there. They called the cops. The owner had to be pulled off of them. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy, crazy experiences here. Just to realize, like, yo, man, I can't be part of it. I moved from there. I didn't want to live there anymore just because of that.
Yeah, you know, I avoid this shit like the plague now.
Dude, I don't want to ever get involved.
Yeah, I mean, even if
the
like
environment
when I was
here
there,
twists you.
I can't.
Yeah, well,
that's
we're different
every time
now.
I go back to New York, I'm like a week or two there, I'm ready to leave. It's so everybody's like in a rush and they're
angry,
like
angry.
Yeah, Jesus, I'm out. Peace. I'm going back to Texas. And my mother and my sister come down here and they're frantic. They're like, I'm like, calm down, take it easy, relax. Because everybody's up there I tell people all the time that New Yorkers aren't mean. They're not bad. Like, everybody's like, oh, you're from New York.
They're rushed.
Yeah, they're busy. They're all in a big rush to get wherever the hell they're going. So they seem like they're assholes, but they're not really assholes if you stop them. Because down here, all the Yanks, all the fucking New Yorkers, they're great people, calm. But you got to be here for a couple of years. You could tell the new ones.
It's the speed that society dictates here in the environment. Mm-hmm. You have no choice. My dude, when I was on the job and I was a master inspector, right? I was like the head guy for like 7 years, inspecting fruit and vegetables, and it was like easy work for me. The environment is so fast paced that when I finally did slow down, I could never go back. After my injury, even trying to heal myself like 100%, I could never go back to work. They're like, dude, you're broken. And I'm like, yeah, but it don't matter how much ayahuasca you drink. It don't matter whatever you do. You're still physically broken and you can't hang in that environment. You can't move at the pace you need to. You can't. And you're like, but dude, you can't. It's physically impossible. So then when I was like, why do I even want to do this? It's like the system was drawing me back, even though I couldn't do it. And I felt like I let my world down because I couldn't do it. I'm like, bro, I'm saving myself. Now I'm like, I saved myself.
Uh-huh.
Right? They threw me away like a piece of trash. And I turned it into gold because I am gold.
Better now. Imagine they did this when you were like 55, 60 years old. Then what?
Well, we all know what's happening, right? The shift is occurring. We're waking up. None of us are really even from here. We're here to kind of help take the planet into a new age. And with that comes all the beautiful things that'll come along with it because it's been held back from us for so long. We get to return to us again. Return back to the beings that we were. You know, every day I wake up, man, I know some more stuff. I'm like, hey, I tell Paul, I go, ethereal translator, so let me tell you what happened in the shower today. And she's like, are you serious? And then, but she's not shocked by it. She's like my brother said it best. He goes, I fucking think you're so crazy. But I listen to you and I look at you and I'm like, there's totally the only sane person here. But from what you're saying, if I was just sitting over there listening to you, I'm like, this dude's a kook. But look at him, bro. Look at him. He looks pretty good. He's got a girlfriend. She looks wonderful. He's got a radio show. He looks like he got his life together. All he's saying is things to help out. So I go, yeah. So you ostracized me because I'm the dude speaking the truth. And then now you're like, all right, everything that's happening around you is all good stuff. Only positive. So whatever it is you're doing is working. So you can't be crazy. And I go, no, it appears crazy because we never get a chance to do it. Like people say, well, you got the time to do it. I go, no, I put the work in. Big difference. I could do anything else. I could sit around all day and do nothing. I could play fucking video games like everyone else does. I could go into total bliss. But you know what? I am in bliss. I live with my etherical translator, and I love her more than anything. I have my little furry family, and we got 4 cats. I love all of them. And we got some birds outside, and all our fearless family.
And I noticed the birds are starting to come around my house again. For the last, not just because it's cold, because it doesn't really get too cold to where the birds leave, but the birds have been keeping a wide berth of my house for the last several months, and they're starting to come back in. These little tiny, I don't know what they are. Probably they're just really cute, but they're starting. Like it started with hawks. I started seeing a lot of hawks flying over the house the last couple weeks.
Well,
not a lot, but just 2 or 3.
That's it right there. When you start being aware of that and it's showing up, it's all messages and signs that nature is interacting with you. It's showing you we have your back. We're here. They wouldn't be there if something bad was going on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of, as you enjoy that and you're grateful for it, more happens and more comes out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm grateful for it. I come out every day. I say hello to Hop's family, and there's 30 of them now, and they're all fat. I'm like, I made fat birds. Wah, look at my family. And I go, I'm grateful because I love hearing you guys. And not one pigeon.
Yeah.
2 doves, but not a pigeon.
Still no pigeons, huh?
No. Right on the corner, though, there's pigeons everywhere. But here, nothing.
That's ridiculous.
All right, so I want to wrap it up here for a minute because I know we're at
Not one pigeon.
Not one pigeon. And I want to do this naturally again soon, and we could do these, and I want to share the experiences with everyone from all layers and all levels because it's us. You know, I am, but we are. Nobody could do this alone. It's a team effort, and we're waking up as a team. We're waking the team. We're getting up. The family's awakening, and it's all of us. You know, the message is for those that need to hear it. Those that are interested. If you made it this far, you're definitely interested.
Yeah, even Johnny's been saying that he's starting to talk about something about a team today. Just today, he was starting to talk about putting together a team. We're putting together a team, but he's not deep into the listening to the shows. You know,
you don't have to though.
Right, but it's weird because like you'll say something on your show, or Chris will say something on his show, and I won't say anything to Johnny, but Johnny will come over and start saying what you guys are talking about. That's how I know it's
Yeah, you guys are tapped in. Whether you listen to my show or you just go through life and you listen to whatever, you know, you listen to mumble crap rap all day long, but you're woke. You're woke.
Oh, I hate that word.
I know. I'm so woke, B. B, I'm so woke, yo. B. All right, well, thank you so much, Nick, for coming on the show. Anything you want to promote before we go?
No.
No, I'll do it for you then. Don't forget to see Nick and all his wonderful designs and artistic wonder and fantastic stuff that he designs with his mind, and then it goes through his hand, and then it comes through the IamWeAreFearLess.com webpage. Check him out there and all the other great artists. Super shout-outs to all of you. I love every single one of you so much, and don't forget to check out the live show on truthfrequencyradio.com. Listen to Fearless, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Saturday night. And check out all the other wonderful shows that are there. There's 28 other hosts. I'm sure you're going to love someone if you don't love me. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you for being here, Nick. And I love you so much. And I can't wait to do it again.
Me either. I'm here. Thanks very much.
Peace.
Later.